eBay is now letting collectors who buy certain raw cards on their website submit them directly for grading through PSA. So when you get your eBay purchase, the card is already PSA graded. Is this the ultimate convenience for collectors or more trouble as PSA's backlog gets even bigger? We'll debate now. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table. And Teapot and Doug, it is now April.
Yeah.
It is no longer March Madness, yet I still got the jacket on. My Gators are still dancing for one more week.
I'm hoping they lose just so I don't have to see that again, at least until September.
If they win, I might wear this all the way until September. I might not change out of it.
I
might wear it to bed at night.
Will. Yeah.
All right, listen, we got a lot to talk about today. We got to talk about this eBay PSA news. We've got Luka's first Laker cards. We've got crazy auctions. We've got GameStop news. But first, I got to tell you guys, we got to get through this show quick because at 6 p.m. Eastern time, I am live on Whatnot for the biggest pack sale in Whatnot history. We're selling over 20,000 packs at extreme discounts in some cases. It is on Cards HQ shop on Whatnot. Go there right after you get done watching this video. You're not going to want to miss it. Okay, first story today. This is, I think, pretty big news in the sports card hobby. You know, the partnership with PSA and eBay, we know that that has been formed. It's getting stronger. When you buy cards on eBay, you can now send them directly to PSA's vault. You can, when you get your cards graded at PSA, you can now sell them directly on eBay as part of that grading process. Well, now we've seen the next step in the partnership. Now, if you buy a raw card on eBay that is at least $250 and non-autographed, you now have the option at checkout during the process of buying that card on eBay to send that card directly to PSA to get the card graded. So you don't ever touch the eBay shipment. You don't have to submit it for grading yourself. You buy it raw on eBay, it goes right to PSA, and then by the time it gets to you in the mail, the card is already PSA graded. The timing of this is a little bit interesting because as we've reported recently on this show, PSA's got what seems like a pretty big backlog right now. That is big. All of the grading companies have backlogs that seem to be increasing, maybe getting worse. Orders are taking a long time to get processed. PSA's got a big delay in their order intake, but you got to think this partnership with eBay is adding to that even more. But despite that, we got a lot of collectors excited about this, excited about the fact that they can get their cards automatically graded as part of the whole process without having to process them or handle them themselves. They don't have to join the PSA Collectors Club. It just gets taken care of automatically. And right now, eBay is even offering free shipping back on those orders until June 30th. So you even save shipping charges by doing this. Teapot, is this huge news for the hobby? And if so, in a good way or a bad way, what's your take on this?
Have you ever sent a card to PSA without looking at it yourself?
I look closely at the cards I send to PSA, and they still often get 7s and 8s.
So have you ever just bought a card on eBay and just turned it around and dropped it
I
off?
would never do that. I'm so compulsive about cleaning.
But what if the
thing.
eBay listing says pack fresh?
Yeah, pack fresh. Yeah,
that's another episode.
So think about this.
Right.
What could go wrong, right? We have seen people, I know people, this has never happened to me, but I know people for sure, who have pack pulled cards and then sent them to PSA, and it comes back, do not hold their min size requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Other issues. It happens. It's from the pack and it got miscut or something.
Or it can get a PSA 6 because
Just
it's
some
some type
thing,
of damage
right?
from the printer. Yeah,
So,
it happens.
So in principle, I think this is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And if people like it and they want to take advantage of it, cool. It's removing another layer of that friction and risk that you're shipping it to me and then back. Although you're now introducing a new layer of risk that there's multiple sets of hands handling your card. It's going through authenticity. They're taking it out, presumably putting it into the semi-rigid. Now it's going to the grading person, and it adds risk along the way that somebody accidentally damages your card. I would be most concerned about this as an eBay seller, as the seller, that something happens, the card gets damaged, or it doesn't come back the grade that somebody wanted, or they put a min grade requirement on it when they send it to PSA, and then they say, you said this was near mint or better, and it came back a PSA 6, but you didn't know any better because you couldn't see the imperceptible thing that may or may not even exist. This, to me, it's like, it's already painful sometimes on eBay being a seller with all the tricks and shisty things that buyers can do, especially if you're somebody who actually likes to have returns enabled. What if it goes to PSA, gets graded, and doesn't get the grade, and you have that 30-day returns accepted thing?
You don't. The policy is once it's graded, it's all
okay. Well,
that's what they say, but that won't necessarily stop certain buyers from still trying to open up a case or calling their credit card company, and raising an issue with them.
I'm not going to get mad at people for sending their cards to PSA and the backlog and the whole nature of that, because people have a right to send their cards for grading. I don't care what card it is, you have the right to send it for grading. So I've seen a lot of cranky comments about that, like, this is why there's a backlog, because you sent your $5 Barry Sanders. Like, you're allowed to get your cards graded. PSA will continue, as will the other grading companies, to scale and to increase their operational efficiency over time. But overall, it's not something that moves the needle whatsoever for me. There's one exception where it could be, and it would be on cards that are of a lower value, so below the $250 threshold. The grading video I just did on the Market Movers channel a few weeks ago on how to evaluate and send your cards for grading, one of those cards I bought was a Shohei Ohtani, Allen, and Ginter rookie card that has like an 81% gem rate. And I inspected it in the photo, and you're not going to find fingerprints and things on that because of the card stock. So if it looks well centered and you don't see any major defects, that could be a scenario where you buy 5, 6, 10 of those on eBay and you just send them all to PSA. And then if 6 of them come back a PSA 10 or 8 of them, you're crushing it and you're doing really well. But it's a lower risk threshold. I can't imagine just blindly sending a card $250 or up to PSA and hoping it's going to go well.
Okay, so you might use this service if there was a low, as you said, like actually they brought the minimum down below $250. Along those lines, maybe another interesting use case would be vintage. If you're buying raw vintage cards where you aren't expecting them to get 10s or 9s or 8s, you could look at the photos pretty closely and probably have an idea, oh, that's a 4 or that's a 6. But hey, it's still a Mickey Mantle or it's still a Willie Mays, so it needs to go get graded. Maybe that's a possibility?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Doug? Is this something you see people using often, or do you have some of the concerns Teapot has?
Similar concerns for sure. I can kind of see both sides of this, right? Like on one hand, this makes grading a lot more accessible for people. I'm sure there's people that are intimidated by the submission process if they've never done that before. This kind of removes that barrier to entry for some people, right? So it's a good move by PSA in terms of that. But also, we're in this junk slab era right now, and this can only exacerbate that, right? People have such easy access to just click a button, buy a card, and send it right off to grading. Hopefully, people will kind of do the math on risk and reward, though, because there's a $250 threshold on the card itself.
Yep.
The lowest grading option they give you is a $40 grading option. So you're in for 300-ish right off the bat. If it's $250 card and you're paying $300 right off the bat, if that gets a PSA 9, right now for modern cards, that's probably worth
$240
raw. Or exactly. That's exactly what I have written down. $240. It's probably worth a little bit less than it was raw. Yeah. So you're losing $60 right off the bat.
That's a whole nother episode we could debate because that's crazy. But you're right. That is how the world works
so
today.
I hope that people will process that and they're not just going to keep clicking grade, and just get crushed on PSA 9s. For a seller, the minimum requirement is only 2 photos. I can't imagine being the seller that has this $250 card and I'm getting flooded with messages asking for a dozen more photos from every different angle. That's going to be annoying for sure. But I could see some arbitrage opportunities like you said. Like a famously a card with a really high gem rate like Blank Slate used to.
Yeah,
I could see myself going and buying a bunch of blank slates and sending them off for grading, and they have an 88% gem rate and making some money that way.
I think another scenario for this could be like on release days or within a couple of days of release day, because you're assuming on a release day, you see a lot of people ripping products and immediately listings going up on eBay. Very well, a lot of those cards hitting eBay could be gem mint cards. They're cards that people probably look at and they're like, well, I could grade that and wait, 3 months to get it back from PSA and sell it then, or I could put it on eBay today and be one of the very first to market and get immediate cash flow.
Yeah.
And so I think I think on release day you're more likely to see raw cards hitting eBay that have the opportunity to potentially gem mint. And so if you're careful on release day, maybe that's an opportunity to pick off some cards from a brand new set, buy them on eBay, submit them to PSA through this new process. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a fan overall of the integration of things in the hobby.
Yeah.
I think the easier things are for collectors, the better. So the idea of all the different connections PSA has done with eBay, I like all of them. I like the ability to go straight from grading a card to selling it. I like the ability to go straight from grading a card or buying a card on eBay to putting it in a vault, if I choose to do that, and going straight from my vault to selling it or shipping it to me. And now going straight from buying a card on eBay to grading it. To me, these are just different ways to remove friction, to make things easier. All the things you said, though, are also true. There's a lot of caveats to this, and how often will it get used overall? I don't know, but I think generally the easier we can make things, the more frictionless for collectors, the better. So it achieves that. Yeah. By the way, our friends at eBay, this is not a sponsored ad, but they did ask me to mention they are right now doing 50% off final value fees for sellers on cards over $1,000. That goes through May 4th. The card has to sell by May 4th. So if you're selling a card on eBay in the US and it goes for over $1,000, you get 50% off. You do have to, I believe you have to go in and you have to RSVP to get that discount. There's a page on eBay's website. It's ebay.com/card promo. Go there and register. So just for those of you selling, just wanted to give that information out as an FYI. Another big FYI is what Arena Club is doing. These new Crown Jewel slab packs that they dropped last Friday, $5,000 slab packs, or $4,000 with the 20% off coupon code SCI20. That is what to use that coupon code on. They got crazy stuff. We're not going to open one of those, but we are going to open some lesser expensive Ruby and Emerald packs. Who wants to go first today? Teapot, you want to go?
Sure.
Let's go. Let's go. Right. Let's see what Teapot gets. He's going to open up.
What did you open, do you know?
Pokemon.
Okay. Oh, Pokemon. We got an Emerald Pokemon pack. All right, let's see what this is here. This is a high-end Pokemon pack here, Teapot. What do you got? What do you got?
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that's you got a first edition Hollow.
For Alligator.
Wow, first edition
for Alligator.
That's pretty
Is this an omen,
oh my
Jeff?
God,
is it an Alligator omen?
I hate it here.
This has to be a sign.
That's fantastic.
It has to be a sign.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that right there.
I don't know whether to root for the Gators or not.
And that was a PSA 9, not a PSA 10.
That is great.
Not quite the best, but just next to the best.
At least root
he likes
runner up to best.
At least root for us to be Auburn, so I can stay out and San Antonio
I am
a
rooting
couple
for
more
that.
days. Thank you.
Yeah.
Doug, what did you get? You got a Ruby pack.
Yeah, I went with Ruby.
Okay, so this is a little more of a value pack. Ruby football here.
Football, yeah. I like the checklist, so I'm hoping to get something from that top tier of the checklist. Oh, Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Local hero. But that's out of 2.
It is actually a cool card.
Yeah.
It is a snakeskin
number 2.
Yeah,
the green
2.
snakeskin's out of 2, but it's Kirk Cousins. So
I mean,
that would have been a hot card here in Atlanta a year ago.
A year ago.
Not so hot today.
I have no idea what to do with that now.
I opened up an Emerald baseball pack. Let's see what we got here.
Can't do worse than Kirk Cousins.
Let's see.
The drama.
Hey, look at that.
Oh,
Black Label.
That's sweet, actually.
Black Label.
That's actually
Acuna.
super cool.
I got the wrong
You love
hometown hero.
perfection.
Black Label Acuna.
You love perfection.
That is rookie Acuna
That's
rookie.
perfection.
That is actually super cool.
I'll trade you one local hero for the
Low
other.
pop.
The only thing I might trade that for is the Gator Pokemon. I don't know. I might do that. But that Acuna Black Label, that's nice. All right, guys. Promo code SCI20 for 20% off any of these Arena Club slab packs. They're live right now. Just download the Arena Club app and use promo code SCI20. All right, let's jump into our next story. Luka has a Laker card officially. He's had some Panini Instant stuff, right? But he's got his actual first card in a pack product, kind of, right? So Panini, of course, very excited to get Luka Laker cards out there. I'm sure they wanted to get him out of the market. They obviously had already missed Prism, but they wanted to get him out, especially before their license expires, which starting October 1st, that license moves over to Topps and Fanatics. So Panini was looking for how do we get Luka Laker cards out there, and so they decided Prism Monopoly was the way to do it. 2024-25 Prism Monopoly includes Luka in the new Laker uniform for the first time. But the card is exclusive to those who purchase a sealed 20-box blaster case directly from Panini's official website. Each case guarantees either a Luka Prism Monopoly free parking parallel or a chance at pulling a super short print millionaire white insert or money blast black insert. So that's how you're going to get your first Laker Luka card. Doug, is this the treatment this card should have received?
I can't stand Monopoly, man. I don't know why I hate it so much, but I cannot stand Prism Monopoly. I don't, this does nothing for me. Back in the COVID era, we were always looking, cards were blowing up, everything was getting so expensive, we were always looking for that next thing, that next edge. So we were looking at second-year cards instead of rookies, or we were looking at the first year in this new jersey. We were always trying to figure out what the next angle was going to be.
Yeah.
But we're not there anymore. Like, we're matured past that. We don't need to chase Luka's first, Lakers jersey. I'm sure, Lakers fans would like that. And I think LeBron's first Laker jersey still does okay. But now I'm having flashbacks of me buying up KD's first Nets jersey and flipping those for double price. And that was just so dumb. It made no sense. And this makes no sense to me. I don't, again, the Monopoly IP on a card, I don't see the synergy. I don't care about it. So this is a big nothing to me. I don't really want to have anything to do with Monopoly stuff, to be honest with you.
That's a little bah humbug over there,
Yeah.
Tifa. I don't hate Prism Monopoly. Do you hate Prism Monopoly? Do you not like this?
I don't hate it. When they first announced it, I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. They're making a game out of this, right? But I don't understand the price tag on a lot of the cards. They're really high. It kind of reminds me of Hoops Winter or Topps Holiday, but with a huge price tag because it's Prism, just another Prism format. These cards are probably going to be expensive.
Yeah, they are.
When they come out, more expensive than they should be. I would remind our audience and everyone of the first LeBron James Lakers cards that came out, and I believe his first one was Revolution, and then he had Optic, and those were the first two, and they were crazy big money back in the day, and there's still whatever, but the first thing fades over time, and there's going to be more Luka Lakers jersey cards. So that would be my big caution is just don't get suckered into overpaying for one of these if you're super excited. For me, I feel like I'm still living in some weird twilight zone that Luka is a Laker, and I still don't understand how that happened. I don't like it, but here we are.
It is a little weird.
It's gross.
It is a little weird. I liked him on Dallas. I thought it was good. I thought it was good to have Dallas interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, Panini needed to come out with a Luka card with the Prism brand before they lose their license. I guess this was the obvious way to do it. It's better than nothing, I think.
Sure.
I think it's fun.
That's fine.
Monopoly, money black Luka. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe I need
okay.
to see the card.
The white do not pass go or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. That's our assessment. It is okay. All right, guys. We are 15 minutes away from me going live on Whatnot Cards HQ Shop. By the way, I'm also giving away thousands and thousands of dollars of boxes and cards tonight.
To me?
Yeah. Well, maybe if you join the Whatnot stream Cards HQ Shop.
I don't think we're
All
allowed
right,
to.
so let's get to you are not eligible. You're not eligible. Let's get to our last two stories, guys. We've got to talk about GameStop. Big news. And look, when this whole GameStop PSA partnership announcement was made several months ago, we were all a little bit eh. And I think at first we missed the TCG angle of it a little bit, which apparently is what 90+% of this partnership is. It's oriented around Pokemon and TCG, not as much sports cards. And we were kind of coming at it from the sports card angle and being I don't see a lot of hardened sports card collectors walking into GameStop to grade their cards. Well, not many of them are, but there's a heck of a lot of Pokemon collectors and fans that are walking into GameStop to grade their cards and to buy cards. So much so that GameStop recently reported their quarter 4 revenue from 2024, and their sales in their collectibles category rose $100 million from $171 million to $271 million between quarter 3 and quarter 4. Meanwhile, their overall net income as an organization dropped. So they're seeing income drop. Actually, I should say sales drop. Income rose, sales drop. So their overall sales as an organization went down, yet their collectibles category went up, meaning that collectibles is quickly amassing a lot of market share at GameStop. Their net income went up. So as collectibles rise, apparently profit rises too at GameStop. So obviously their executives are looking at all of this and saying, we want to go in even harder into collectibles. PSA recently announced that they had graded 1 million cards submitted through GameStop, so that milestone was recently achieved. So the whole GameStop thing seems to be working out pretty good. What are your thoughts on all this, Teapot?
Yeah, when it first came out, I was a bit skeptical, and I thought there would be a lot of like PR issues with cards getting lost or stolen or damaged, or people not knowing what they were doing.
There's been a few.
There were videographers,
Yeah,
going
there's
in
some
and
of
showing
that.
they didn't know what the cards were worth and all this stuff. But kudos to them. I mean,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, actually, if I even go back probably 15 years ago, I remember riding around in my first job with a lender and him being like, yeah, GameStop's going to be dead any day now, like 15 years ago. And
that would
now,
make sense.
I mean, here they are, but
Here they are.
they're pivoting.
Here they are.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
they
they're
could have
pivoting.
gone the way of Blockbuster, and they're pivoting, and they're going to keep shifting their business model to not only stay alive, but absolutely crush it on margin and continue to, do well. So if we are going to get grumbly and point to anybody and blame them for the backlog of grading, it's GameStop. But I mean, they're having a lot of success with it, and it's getting more people into the TCG space. So those are some big boy numbers. I'll say that much.
They're big numbers. Did this surprise you, Doug?
It did surprise me. I'm wrong a lot, so that's not surprising, but I whiffed on this. I thought I was as skeptical as anybody about this partnership when it was first announced, and they're killing it. Collectibles has soared for GameStop. In Q4, it accounted for almost a quarter of their entire revenue as a company. That's mind-blowing. Now, Collectibles in GameStop terms isn't just cards. That's toys and apparel and other things like that. But it's great to see that category doing so well. That means people are spending money in that space. People are collecting, and we need that in our industry, right? So I'm happy to see money is going in that direction. I'm happy to see that, companies that are slightly outside of our hobby, our nuclear hobby, are investing in our space. Of course, Nat Turner is on the board there. That probably has a lot to do with that, right? But we're obviously going to see continued focus on that category, and it may open other companies' eyes that are outside of our hobby, saying, look what Collectibles are doing for this company, and we might see more expansion into brands we would never consider being part of the hobby.
Yeah.
Making an entry.
I think Dick's is
Dick's
expanding
Sporting
into
Goods.
that
Yeah, exactly
more
what I
now.
was
Sporting Goods
thinking,
buying the Paul Skeens card.
Well,
Yeah.
and they just announced though that they're going to have it in like a collectibles space. So
There you go.
They're doing more too.
All right. I think it's exciting. Growth of the hobby overall. I'm glad GameStop's doing well, and I'm glad the hobby is thriving the way it is right now. It's wonderful. All right, one more topic to talk about today, gentlemen. Some eye-popping sales over the last week. Look, there have been really strong auction results this year. Like, we've seen a number of auctions so far this year with some cards in those auctions that have just done really big things. This past weekend in particular, we saw Caitlin Clark, her Prism 1/1 Signatures rookie card, sold for $366,000 at Golden. That is the most expensive female sports card of all time. And over at Heritage, we saw Shohei Ohtani's Topps Dynasty Black 50/50 game logo patch sell for over $1 million. That sold for $1.06 million. That is double the most expensive Shohei card ever to have sold before. So clearly, when Topps announced several months ago that they're going to have these Topps Chrome Black cards to celebrate Ohtani, and we talked about them on the show, big market success there so far. Doug, what do you think about these sales? And between the Caitlin Clark and the Shohei, which one is maybe more justifiable to you?
Well, that's an interesting question. Going back to just the topic itself, every week on this show, there's always two topics we can talk about. It's either record sales or some sort of fraud, scam, something terrible, right? And I'm glad that we're on the positive side of things right now, because there's been a lot of record sales, even not record-breaking sales, but just really strong sales that we could talk about. The hobby is on fire right now. Despite things like overprinting and junk slab era, sales are really strong across the board. And this isn't some sort of COVID bubble that we're seeing. It's been a steady trajectory and very strong. That's not to say maybe there's not some market correction on the way or that is due, but it's not the same type of bubble where the bottom's just going to fall out. This is sustainable. It's great to see that these cards that are considered, the rarest cards or the most iconic cards or the grails of this modern era are putting up the kind of numbers that they are. That's really good for the long-term outlook as well. Now, as far as which card is more worthy, I don't know, that Caitlin might be a deal. Yeah. I don't know. That's a really tough one to answer. Like, Shohei is kind of already the guy. He's already accomplished a lot of the stuff that you would expect him to accomplish, and the price tag makes sense. Caitlin's could get to $1 million card one day if she is the best to ever do that in her sport, right? I don't know. That's a tough one for me to answer.
If Shohei goes 80-80 this year, then his 50-50.
Does he have a torpedo bat?
Doesn't. I mean,
He doesn't need one.
He might have one. Teapot, your take on this?
Couple of things that stood out to me. I mean, it's interesting to see that Ohtani be his record sale when it's not a rookie.
Correct.
Right? It's a big sale. But the video I put out this last week on the Market Movers channel talking about some of these big sales from the most recent Fanatics Collect auction, and I was talking about relics and the quality of relics and tiers of relics, and I had a whole chart, like a matrix from S tier all the way down to the trash that should be burned. And what I talked about was the MLB debut patch, and then also these game-dated items that have meaning, that the player wore, that come from a specific milestone or historic event. So I was actually like edified seeing that sale get up into that price range for that momentous, occasion for Ohtani. I thought it was fitting vis-a-vis other cards. The Caitlin Clark is really interesting to me. What stands out is Luka just had his Prism Gold rookie card auto, which is a sticker auto. It was a BGS 910 auto, and it sold for like $30,000 on the Fanatics Collect auction.
Wow.
His PSA 10 Prism Base Gold, which is Pop 4, just sold for $342,000. So the Prism Auto in a BGS 9, or the Auto Gold, sold for $30,000.
Yeah.
And like 10 times that
weird, isn't it?
for the non-auto. But in Caitlin Clark's case, this is her auto. There's 2 select sales that happened. One was her gold vinyl 1/1 with the auto, did $235,000 in December. And the non-auto 1/1 just did $105,000 in February. So like half, less than half of the auto. So what's piquing my interest here is if and when we see the gold vinyl non-auto from this Prism set come up for sale, does it sell for $250,000 or does it sell for $700,000?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's interesting to see how people are reacting to this in WNBA versus NBA, where we've seen this time and time again, people paying more for the True Black Finite non-auto Prism football card over the auto. So that just jumped out at me as like, I wonder how you would evaluate the non-auto version of this card. I don't know.
As you said, Doug, I love seeing the big sales.
Yeah.
It's nicer to talk about the big sales than scams and things going wrong. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And look, speaking of big sales, it is time. It is time for the Whatnot Card Show. It is time for me to hop over on Cards HQ Shop. Join me tonight for the biggest pack sale in Whatnot history. We got like 30,000 packs plus thousands of dollars in free giveaway. It is right now on Whatnot on Cards HQ Shop. I'll see you there.